Welcome to The Vibrant Couple. My name is Valdo Lallemand. I am a relationship coach. I created The Vibrant Couple 3 months ago to further my purpose of liberating love through connection and playfulness. I've done quite a bit of research on YouTube about emotional intelligence, and I've noticed that most of it is for corporate leadership. And so I decided to create a new series on emotional intelligence for couples and for people's love and intimate life. Welcome to our first episode on emotional intelligence. So very strangely, emotional intelligence is initialized EQ. That's for emotional quotient, the same way we have IQ for intellectual intelligence. So what is it? What are the characteristics of EQ? What are the signs of high EQ? What are the signs of low EQ? And very importantly, what can we do to boost our EQ up? Everyone loves marshmallows, I guess. So in 1972, Stanford psychologist Walter Mischel was interested in delayed gratification. So he gathered a number of children. I think the number is not statistically valid, but that does not matter because that story is well known by many. So he basically put the children alone in a room and told them, hey, here is one marshmallow, and I'm going to leave you by yourself for 15 minutes-ish with the marshmallow. And if I come back and you ate it, wonderful. If I come back and you did not eat it, I will give you a second one. Fast forward a few years to 1990. Researchers, doctors Peter Salovey and John Meyer published a paper on emotional intelligence with the characteristics below. Fast forwarding another few years, and Daniel Goleman published the groundbreaking book Emotional Intelligence with the following 4 main characteristics: self-awareness, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills. So we have 2 very similar definitions of emotional intelligence. Who won? Very interestingly, in 1990 is also the creation year of the MRI. And so the MRI enabled researchers to be able to see what happened in the human brain in real time, of what happened when someone got upset, when someone was happy, what happened when someone felt heard, what happened when someone was intentionally putting the attention onto others to listen to them, to hear them. So because of Daniel Goleman's interest in MRI research, check for Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman had a very unfair advantage on Peter Salovey and John Meyer, who basically, as researchers, could only publish in research papers. He was also a journalist for the New York Times. And so, very unfairly, check for Daniel Goleman. Daniel Goleman also had the very unfair advantage, and that's just my personal view, but I think he looks better. So another check for Daniel Goleman, who published in 1995 Emotional Intelligence. That book has been sold in over 5 million copies worldwide. Emotional intelligence has 5 different characteristics. The first one is self-awareness. So those with high IQ are able to know in the moment their own emotions as well as the emotions of the people around them. The second characteristic is self-regulation. Everyone knows that emotions are very strong and are often washed away by the emotions, totally taken by surprise and totally run by their emotions. So high EQ people have the ability with self-awareness to be aware of their emotions, and as a result they are much better able to manage them. A direct consequence of self-regulation is motivation. Everybody is motivated by money, by social status, but often we have goals, especially especially in love with our spouse, with our children, that are well beyond short term and well beyond just money. And so when we have those goals, we of course have the natural ebb and flow of emotions, the ups and downs. And people that have high IQ are much more able to stay on track, to manage their negative states and negative thoughts and transform them into fuel towards motivation towards their goals. The fourth characteristic is empathy. So empathy is the ability to recognize how others are feeling. And that is critical because when we know or we have a good idea of what is going on with others, we can respond to them much more appropriately. And the fifth characteristic is social skills. So those with high IQ are able to develop excellent interpersonal skills that enable them to manage well all the relationships they have in their lives. So, what are the signs of high EQ? So, first is curiosity. Curiosity about others, what is going on for them, what are they struggling with, and that curiosity is critical because one of the deepest human needs is to be heard, to be seen, to be appreciated. People with high EQ also have a thorough emotional dictionary. They are able to name the feelings that happened inside of them and others as they arise. Research by Travis Bradbury shows that 36% of the population have this ability. I do not know the gender split between these 36%, and I'm very curious about it. My personal view is that men are as capable as women at knowing their feelings. People with high EQ also have a deep holistic understanding of themselves. They know what they are good at, they know what they are not good at, they know who they get along with, they know who triggers them, and as a result, they are able to make much better choices, most particularly in love. The combination of self-awareness and self-regulation of one's emotions makes that one is much harder to offend. People with high EQ are much better at letting small things go, are much better at knowing the difference between a joke and an insult. Judging others is a favorite human pastime, something that a lot of people do because it somehow juices them up. It helps them feel better. So one of the key characteristics of people with high EQ is they do not try to judge others to push them down to make themselves feel better. As a result, they are actually much better judge or assessors of characters. For example, they are really good at knowing the difference with a good person having a bad day and a bad apple. We all make mistakes, especially in relationships, and our partners make mistakes too. So if your solutions to have no mistakes is to have no partner, I think you're in the wrong place. But if you intend to have a partner, then the best is to learn to accept that we do make those mistakes and learn to manage them. So people with high EQ have the ability to move on, to better grieve, to not sweat the small stuff, and as a result are much less haunted by the past. They carry also less resentment, which I believe is a primary relationship killer. People with high EQ are also able to give with less expectations. And so when you know someone else's emotions, their needs, when you're curious about what is going on for them, what they are struggling with, you're much more able to provide the solutions or the gift of your time or the gift of your services. And because they know deeply who they are much more able to handle toxic people. You know, people that get in your nerves. So what are the signs of low EQ? And to be clear, not all people with low EQ are toxic people. So they often need to be right. They are often oblivious of others' feelings and are insensitive. They often blame others. They have poor coping skills. They have outbursts, typically anger. They often struggle through their relationships as a result, and they're often perceived as self-centered. Some of the factors for low EQ include environment, for an example, a lack of education or a lack of ongoing training as an adult. I put psychological here in some sort of a quotation marks because I am not qualified as a psychologist and therefore do not want to talk about the details. However, if you push lack of empathy to the extreme, you have sociopaths and psychopaths, and on that spectrum, you also find people who have very strong narcissistic tendencies. And so we all have narcissistic wounds, but some people stay there, remain stuck there, and some people evolve, and that makes a big difference on the emotional intelligence of the person who is able to move on. Trauma plays a huge role. I believe that addiction is also an important factor, although sometimes temporary, into a person's self-centeredness and thereby low EQ. Someone addicted to alcohol or drugs or porn is a lot less available to their partner than anyone who is sober. I want to bring your attention to something that is not on this list: grief. Grief makes us temporarily self-centered because we need to heal before we are ready to go back to the world. However, grief is not a sign of low EQ, and actually knowing how to manage grief is, in my view, a sign of high EQ. A question I often hear is about narcissism. Do people who have narcissistic tendency have low or high EQ? So that is an excellent and very painful question for anyone who is involved with a narcissist. So basically, narcissists have a low EQ, but they are really good at making others think that they have a high EQ. One of the beauties to EQ is that it is a lot more fluid than IQ. So here are 7 proven strategies on how to increase your EQ. The first one is to increase self-awareness. And so that can be done through meditation, can be done through yoga, can be done through martial arts, can also be done through communication classes with your partner. Second is improving listening skills. That can be done through taking relationship workshops. I personally very strongly recommend nonviolent communication. Very strangely, one of the beauties of life is that life keeps throwing us curveballs, and basically life keeps sending us invitations to learn to become a better listener. One of the key characteristics of becoming a better listener is developing a genuine interest in others. We become curious about them, about who they are, and we do that selflessly with no agenda. Of course, increasing our ability to know and manage our emotions has a huge impact on EQ. Developing appreciation. Of course, appreciation for people who love, and especially when they are nice to us, they give us gifts or something that we really like, or we spend a good time with them. But also appreciation when they are not on the A game, when they struggle, when they make mistakes, when they are insensitive. And now, the most 2 surefire ways of increasing your emotional intelligence in your couple. The first one is, you guessed right, please hit the like button below and subscribe. and follow the series on emotional intelligence, as well as a number of posts I do on bringing awareness and wisdom to what happens in couples. And last but not least, I put down below a link to Happy Couples Play Together. I offer a number of classes on how to better relate. Actually, I call them ateliers, it's a French word, that talks about an artist workshop so that we can develop our relational art. The next class I offer is learning to fight. So often when we fight, we're way too serious and we fight against each other. So during the class, I invite and practice with the students how to fight playfully with each other. I am so grateful to have spent this time with you looking at EQ, on what it is, on its characteristics, on sign of high EQ, on sign of low EQ, and how to grow it. Next, we're going to take a look in episode 2 at what feelings are, and then in episode 3, I will take a personal deep dive into my own feelings. If this video inspired you to grow your emotional intelligence, I invite you to hit the like button below and subscribe so you can be notified when I publish new juicy content. I look forward to seeing you very soon.